if that's the case, and I went out and I walked the site, drive by it every day on my way home, but I went out and looked at it, and it looks like a continual sort of continuation of that, and I can't swear to that, but you might want to you'll need to do a wetlands delineation, and I'm suspicious that if that wetland continues from the south on up all the way to the Dollar General, it's going to affect the placement of your building.
Okay.
Which will then alter some of these comments, but we're gonna talk to that a little bit, but, it's not a deal killer, there's things we can work through here. So just be aware of that, and we're gonna jump back to that one again, later on. Just some references, and this is recorded, and so you can go back and listen to them if you don't wanna write down, all this stuff, or, I can also email you my comments
Okay.
afterwards.
Very
Thank you.
Because I know I've got both of y'all's emails.
Yeah.
Section 4.5, site plan standards, just be aware that you've got, I've got more specific one here, but I'm just gonna leave it at 4.5 right now. Just be aware that dumpsters, mechanical equipment, service areas, parking lots need to be screened. You have to provide pedestrian connectivity, internal and external, connect with adjacent developments and right-of-ways, sidewalks, minimum of 6 feet in width. Well, that's some serious echo there. Multi-use trails 10 feet wide, pedestrian plan must connect to existing or planned sidewalks and multi-use trails. Parking areas, Article 31 standards, not to exceed 110% of Article 31 of the Land Development Code. All parking not to exceed 110% of minimum land development code requirements. Parking's gotta be located to the side or rear of the primary structures, screened from public streets. Parking lots must be accessed from side to side, from side street or rearage yard, or rearage road. Parking areas interconnected or designed to interconnect in the future. If you don't have an access road connecting, you need access lot to lot connectivity, but if you have parking, parking also needs to be interconnected with a recorded ingress or egress. Bicycle parking is required. If there are existing utilities, they must be connected to public utilities and located underground and either all new utilities go underground, or if they're already there, they need to be relocated underground. Landscaping, that's section 4.11 of the William Burgess of the blueprint. It includes planning, site work and design, streetscape, parking areas, lighting and signs, section 4.14. Any wetlands have to be buffered. You have to have a 25-foot natural vegetative buffer. And I wanted to go through fairly quickly on some of that stuff to get to the other things. One, let's circle back to the setback for a second. If the wetlands, if there are indeed wetlands and you do have to push that building further back, like I suspect, then that you might, and I normally don't recommend or even mention variances as a route, but that might be the route that you have to go with applying for a variance to get granted from the Planning and Zoning Board, depending on how those wetlands are. I mentioned Highway 17 being widened at some point in the future. That could possibly help support the variance. The other thing, if there are no wetlands, if everything remains as is, what you're probably looking at, if you went out to the current right-of-way, property line, right-of-way / property line, and you went 25, you'd be looking at a 25-foot minimum, 40-foot maximum, based on what that would be where you're building, that would be the setbacks for your building after the widening.
Okay.
I'm gonna send this to you, so in other words, it's gonna get widened, so you're gonna go back a little bit further. It would still be the same 0.15, but if you wanted to see how it would be currently based off of where it's supposed to be widened, it's gonna go back to either a minimum of 25 and 40.
So we need to what you're saying is we need to plan for the future widening of 17.
Yeah.
And move
Yeah.
the building from maybe where we have it proposed now.
Is that-
Exactly.
Is
And-
that something that, regardless of the wetland delineation process, is that we might wanna think about this regardless?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
yeah, two things. So it's going to be widened. So you know it's gonna have, your building's gonna have to go back further anyways. I just wonder if you have a wetland, if it's gonna, if that wetland shows up, that you might have to go even further back.
Okay.
Does that make
I
sense?
have a copy of the thing here. It doesn't really show, did I give you a packet?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't show, we did a survey, it doesn't show any wetlands as pertaining to what we got.
And there may not,
Yeah.
maybe there's not, and
Okay.
maybe the other one's not accurate that we saw last week. I don't know, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
So definitely need to plan for the widening of 17, but you may also, if there are wetland, you may have to go further back.
And all the, like, the information on the widening 17 is available for us as we build the site plan.
I would say Caleb would probably be your guy to speak to about the specifics once you get into that, right?
Yeah, I'd recommend, it'll be a conversation with FDOT. Well, I'll talk some to it, but
Okay.
it'll mostly be a conversation with FDOT.
Okay.
The other thing, while we're talking about the right-of-way line and all that sort of stuff, be aware there's a streetscapes section that is actually in the land development code. It's not in the William Burgess blueprint, but it throws you back to the land development code of what the streetscape section's supposed to look like. LDC figure 45-21. And when you go to that cross section, and I can show it to you after the meeting if y'all stick around, or I can, you'll have this, I know you've been researching code, you'll be able to find it. You'll see a building line, and you'll see, some pervious surface, and then you'll see some impervious surface with trees and that sort of thing. The thing to keep in mind in there, when, after this thing's widened, we're keeping this future widening, so you don't have to go back and tear stuff up, we'd expect you to build the pervious surface out, and then where that diagram's, where it ends, where it just shows the pervious surface, you would just keep it undeveloped grass all the way to the right of way until it's widened, and then after it's widened, you can go back and plant the trees and that sort of thing. Make more sense once you see the diagram.
Yeah, okay.
And then probably maybe the biggest thing that I see, a lot of that, I mean, we know it's being widened, the wetlands are potential maybe you need to be aware of. There might be possible variance and this and that and the other. But the other big thing, some of those are maybes, but the other big thing is the architectural standards in the blueprint. Check out 4.6, you probably, section 4.6 architectural standards, it deals with the facade, transparency and treatments, entryways, the building transitions, exterior materials and colors, projections, recesses and massings, balconies, roof designs, awnings, porches, foundations. That's just a few of them, with a lot of details. You probably have looked at it. I know Elizabeth and I mentioned it when we were going through this, but looking at the elevations, I got some concerns that it really doesn't fulfill the intent of the architectural standards with detailing.
Okay.
There's some slope on the roof, but maybe not really the unbroken lines that the type of detail that they're looking for in that section. The large portion, the dark colored portion there with the sign on it, that would be reviewed if it came in like that would be reviewed as a sign. And it wouldn't meet the sign standards that would,
Okay.
an argument could be made, is that a wall sign or is the whole thing a sign? And I think that looks like a sign, like sort of billboard sign. So take a look at that.
Okay.
Take a look at, we don't wanna design the site here, but
Sure.
there are a lot of things, maybe texture, transparency, all those sorts of things. And I think we probably just we can get through it. We probably just need to work through it, some
Okay.
offline conversations or have another meeting or something. I've talked a really long time, and I apologize about that, but I think, just be aware of those things, and, the big thing, the architectural standards, there's a lot of promise down there, and I think the architectural standards, if you do it right, it's gonna help your business, so,
Okay,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Caleb Purse, Development Services. To continue on with that discussion, I guess. So it does look like in the packet you gave us, you are proposing board and batten on the side.
Yeah.
So the siding itself may not be a large issue, but I will say I do agree. The roof line of what you have there, the dark portion, there is a limitation on how high that can go above.
We can bring that down.
So yeah, so there's restrictions on that. So
It's more of a thing to show you what we can do on not to break up I guess the slope of the roof.
yes, sir.
It's kind of what we do. We could do a 112 pitch and bring that down, sign down. It would also help in the height. Most DBATs, I don't know if y'all are aware of DBATs, what they do or whatever, but that's how most of them, I've done another one. And we usually have a sign like that, but if y'all got a sign problem, we can always address that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's one of the big things that stuck out was how high that comes up along the building there. So we'll be happy to schedule a follow-up meeting with you to talk specifically about the building if you'd like to. Our planning department can coordinate that, and we can work through those details. So as discussed, this property is located along US 17, which is owned and maintained by FDOT. So you will need to get a right-of-way permit for any work within that FDOT right-of-way, including your driveway connection. US 17 is a candidate project for future widening, and so that's something that Will mentioned you do want to keep in mind when designing your site. We would probably recommend approximately 20 foot of right-of-way reservation along that frontage, just of what we figure FDOT will need just to get the width they need. It's intended to be a 4-lane roadway section in front of the building, so we're estimating about 20 foot on each side of US 17 that they would need for that. So as Will mentioned, as you design your site, you would want to take that in consideration. There is a section, it's part E, if you look on that diagram you mentioned, figure 4521, you would essentially widen that dimension by approximately 20 feet to increase that, and then you would construct the rest of it. But in your right-of-way permitting with FDOT, I'd recommend getting maybe a hard number there, but that's our estimate of what we believe it'll likely be somewhere around 20 feet.
Okay.
So 4.9.2H does require, and this is referencing from the William Burgess blueprint. 492 does require multi-use trails to be integrated into all new development. 495 does require a traffic study for any development that generates over 250 trips per day. I'm not sure what this is proposed to be. It could be as simple as just getting a memo from your engineer of it being less than that threshold. If a study is required, we can coordinate a call with our transportation engineer and we can have that discussion. So sidewalk requirements, sidewalks are required to be 6 foot wide. Any trails that are required are 10 foot wide. For non-residential development, section 452, parking areas shall include a minimum of an 8 foot wide pedestrian walkway. So essentially through your development from your parking lot, there is required to be an 8 foot pedestrian section that takes you from, one end of your parking lot to the other, as part of that. 452.8, all new utilities are required to be underground, including the extension of electric or cable. So anything, I believe electric's on the other side of the road. So as you extend that over, it would need to be underground for those extensions as well. 4.14 is the lighting and signage standards. And 4.12 and our roadway and drainage standards, Article 10 has our stormwater requirements. William Burgess blueprint does require the use of 2 lid techniques, low impact design techniques. So your design professional, as they come in and design the site, they'll need to show what they're planning to do for that. It also does require, our Article 10 does require the pond top of bank to meet the 100-year storm event. And then your engineering calculations and geotech will be required to be submitted with your site engineering plan. Also, all stormwater facilities are required to be sloped at a 4-to-1 slope for that pond. If not at a 4-to-1 slope, it would need to be bulkheaded and include a fence around it. But 4-to-1 slope would be needed for that pond. We also, per section 10.6, we do require stormwater infrastructure maintenance plan to be included in your plan set. So essentially, it would cover your design professional would provide the recommended maintenance for the stormwater infrastructure, as well as the intervals for that maintenance. Should be included in your plan as well. We do have general notes and stormwater and paving notes that are found online, and will be included with your engineering submittal. And once you get plan approval for your site, we do have construction inspection fees that are listed online, and those are required to be paid prior to pre-construction meeting. And then lastly, 6.2.1, DRC approval shall be obtained prior to commencement of construction. So before breaking ground up there, we just need to go through the site engineering plan review process and get approval. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ronnie with the Health Department. We're a state agency, not a county agency. We got our own application and fees, and our office is out on Pages Dairy Road on the short side up there. You can stop by there or call them, they can tell you about your fees. Are you planning on hook up to water and sewer?
Yes.
Just give me a letter of availability and I'm good.
Yeah, we've got one. Yes. Good morning, Kevin Jones, Fire Marshal's Office. It's not shown on your plan or anything that's submitted, but your building has to be no more than 400 feet from a hydrant. So when you do get ready to actually design your building, make sure that I know 17 has hydrants. So from that hydrant to the building can't be more than 400 feet. The building size itself may require a sprinkler system and a fire alarm system, but I'll know that once you submit the actual the actual building plans itself, an architect will be able to tell you what your occupant load is for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Did you have any other questions?
No, I would like to